Today I'm going to show you how to do fill in the blanks for IELTS reading, and for this I'm going to use book 20 test 1 passage 1. Since this is passage 1, it is going to be the easiest of the fill in the blanks. If you know, there are other types too, one with picture and one with options. Those are a little bit more complicated than this, but the basic idea remains same. um, Either you understand what is being asked in the question and you solve it. Honestly, there isn't much more than that. If you understand English, if you genuinely read, then you don't need to worry about it. But if you are someone who grew up in country like mine, Nepal, where we don't teach our students to think about the meaning, we just ask them to memorize the content of the syllabus rather than actually making them understand, then it might be quite difficult for you. So this is for those people. The way I'm going to teach, it's for those people. Rather than understanding the whole thing, we are going to solve it in a very specific way, and if you pay attention to that, this works, right? So if you can read the passage, understand the passage, read the question, understand the question, then you are already set for IELTS. But if you read the passage and read the question and you cannot understand any of those, then this is for you, right? How should you process this? Okay. I'll talk about assumptions that are not taught in IELTS, not mentioned in IELTS. These are again assumptions because these are about possibilities rather than certainties. I know these things are possible, but majority of the time these kind of things happen. So I'll mention that. But these are starting places. At the end, the things you do does not change. It's all about efficiency. If you can save 5 seconds, 10 seconds from each question, then you are basically how much is it? 6:36. So 6 minutes ahead of others already. So if you can say 10 seconds in each question, right? So that's how you should think in exam. Your biggest problem, again, this is for people who are really in bad position when it comes to understanding the content of English text. Hopefully this will help. Okay, let's start. In passage 1, usually we get question from question number 1 to 13, right? And they generally divide this. Again, this is general thing, this is not certainty. There are questions where you will find the pattern is completely different for passage 1, but most of the time what you'll find is the first part and second part, and they are either fill in the blanks or true false not given. Fill in the blanks and true false not given, it could be in either order. Sometimes fill in the blank is in the former area, whereas your true false not given would be in the latter, right? So if we look at our question here for passage 1, kakapo, the kakapo, for question number 1 to 6 we have true false not given, and in the next page we have 7 to 13, the last part, which means the answers for 7 to 13 should be in the latter half of the passage, not in the former half. It should be, but it's not 100% of the time. Sometimes what they will do is you'll have questions from 1 to 6 in the first page and first page only, and for question number 7 to 13 they will start with again from the first page, first paragraph, leading up to the last paragraph of the second page, right? So let's see what are we looking at, by the way. So as soon as you start to solve the passage, rather than trying to find the answer, or some may suggest you to actually read the passage, which is not a right thing to do in the exam. But if you want to read the passage, understand the passage, do that at home. But for exam, do not try that. We don't have the time or the luxury to understand what is being said in the passage. We are there to answer 40 questions within 60 seconds. That's it, right? Okay, let's look at the heading. It says the kakapo, which means we are not going to use this as our key phrase. The kakapo is a nocturnal, flightless parrot that is critically endangered and one of New Zealand's unique treasures. The things I have highlighted in the heading, these are the main point of the passage, which means they are going to be repeated multiple times. So I don't want to use these words as my key phrase. So what is a key phrase? A key phrase is something we use a word or a phrase or a meaning from the question to locate it in the passage. Imagine your question number seven's answer is in the, okay, let's imagine it's in the first paragraph. But for some reason, you are looking at second paragraph for question number 7. Are you going to find the right answer? No. So what we want to do is we want to find the exact sentence where they talk about question number 7, then solve it later on. Okay. The solution is not the most important part. The most important part is locating the question in the passage. Okay, so when it comes to locating passage, what you want is number, name, and words within inverted comma. But if you look at question number 7 to 13, we don't have any numbers or inverted commas. However, we do have other things such as Polynesian, European, Richard Henry, things like that, right? We also have Rakura Island. So these are our bookmarks. We are going to use these to locate other answers. So we are going to search for arrival of Polynesian settlers. We are not going to search for anything else. We are not looking for question number 7 or 8. And if you have paid attention, I have actually not read those questions at all. I'm looking for Polynesian settlers. Since it is a name, it won't be changed and P will be capital. If not, we'll find European. Polynesian settlers. So I think the right place to start looking for question number 7 and 8 is the first paragraph. And for first paragraph, we are going to search for diet or something related to food. Fawn fronts, it sounds like name of a plant. So we are going to search for these two things. Do not try to understand any meaning in the first paragraph. We are searching for diet and fawn front. Diet and fawn front. Now we are looking at question number 7, and this is the time when your actual understanding of English comes in play. Before this, it's all about strategy. Even if you do not understand English, you can actually locate the place where the answer should be, right? Let's look at this. Diet consists of horn fronts, various part of a tree and something. So they are various parts of a tree and or tree as well as bulbs. So our answer for question number 7 will be bulbs. I don't think I need to explain beyond this, right? We have tree or leaves, roots and bark of tree or various parts of a tree and as well as bulbs. So I think the answer is quite straightforward, right? The next question is question number 8. We have nests and we have eggs. Let's find nests and eggs. Since this is sequential, we are not going to go before the place where we found our answer. What we are going to do is we are going to follow the passage into the next sentence, or in this case, the next paragraph. We have eggs. We also need nest. So it says here eggs are laid in soil. Eggs are laid in soil, which means nests are created in, right, soil. By the way, when you are writing answers, do not change the forms. For example, it's BULBS here. I cannot write BULB. It's going to be wrong. So um, do not change form of the word to match your logic or your grammar. It needs to fit perfectly, at least for this kind of fill in the blanks. Question number 9. We need to find Polynesian. However, we have already found it, so we don't need to worry about it. We have Polynesian in the next page. And the blank of Kakapao were used to make clothes. We are going to find clothes. Soft cloaks. Okay. See, this is the point where your limitation on English becomes your handicap. If you do not know what cloaks mean, it's going to be very difficult. Cloaks basically means, you know how superheroes have a huge piece of cloth hanging behind their shoulder? That's basically cloaks, but it was a lot more simpler. It was used, I think, as blankets in the past. So blankets are clothes. The blank of Kakapao. So what of Kakapao is used to make clothes? Used its feathers to make soft cloaks or to make clothes, which means our answer for question number 9 is feathers. The feathers of Kakapao were used to make clothes, used its feathers to make soft cloaks. Next, arrival of European. Let's find European. We have European here, colonizers, colonization. The blank were an animal. It's a different animal which were introduced, which they introduced. So what kind of animals were introduced by European colonizers? I don't think I need to look at this. Most of the time what you'll find is that most European colonizers brought rats with them. So I think the answer is going to be rats. Um, let's see. The blank were an animal which were introduced. If we look here, we can find deer, we can find cats, rat. This is Polynesian dog and rat, so we're not going to use that. The following and two more. This is the rat were also into the couple of words. We have cat and rat as well as stoats. But if you look at the question, it says which they were introduced. So were also introduced is linked with rat. I don't know what the right answer here is. Kakapao's food sources. Okay. So we are worried about Kakapao's food sources, not Kakapao being eaten. Sorry, completely ignore whatever I said earlier. So I think it's deer, not cat, stoats, or rat. Because if you look at deer, it also says introduced species such as deer, which depleted the remaining forest of food, which means remaining forest of food for Kakapao, right? So our answer is going to be deer. what we see generally is that IELTS questions have, not generally, 100% of the time, there is only one answer. No matter how confusing it might be for you, when they design such these things, they have only one answers, right? So I cannot have one, two, and three answers, and one of them being mismatched grammatically. So it's not possible. So we need to be confident in their ability, and if we are confident in their ability, we can take such actions and we can be sure of our own answers. Okay, we don't need to find Richard Henry because we have Rakura Island. After that, Richard Henry is here, and Rakura Island. I was not reading the passage, by the way. I was just searching for this Rakura. Since R is capital and the words or the spelling cannot be changed, it was easy to find. That's what I'm saying. You need to know what to search. We are searching for key phrase, number, name, inverted comma. Anything within inverted comma are usually within inverted comma if they are one or two words. If they are longer than that, these are as they are in the passage, right? Um, okay, let's look at question number 11. A definite sighting was reported in the year. They are looking for the year. Population of males, a large population of males was spotted in 1997. So in the year 19 in the year 1997, sorry, 1977. And always double check your answer, right? The recovery plan, why is recovery plan R and P capital? The recovery plan included an increase in R and P are capital, so they are also a part of a name or a name. The recovery plan included an increase. So what are the increasing for recovery plan? Higher amount of funding or increase in funding. Next, we are going to find a current goal of recovery plan is to maintain the involvement in protection. So they are trying to maintain involvement of someone or something in the protection of this bird. Maintain sufficient habitat to accommodate expected. Maintain sufficient habitat. Maintain the involvement of habitat. No, it does not make any sense. Maintain the involvement of stakeholders. Maintain the involvement of stakeholders in cacao production. Yes, our answer is stakeholders. They are asking for involvement of stakeholders. We cannot have involvement of habitat or involvement of genetic diversity, right? We cannot have genetic diversity because if we use genetic diversity, our answer would be by default wrong. We cannot have more than one word as our answer. You also need to pay attention to this part, which I forgot to mention in the start of the video. Sorry about that. Um, If you look through if you look through your book, you'll find that there are other type of fill in the blanks as well. And I think the most difficult one for most of the students is the one with uh, options, right? Because they generally tend to change the grammar of the sentence. The meaning remains same, but the grammar changes, which is very confusing for most of the students as they are struggling with uh, comprehension of simplest words, right? And when you have options and things like that, it gets very, very difficult. I'm also not going to do this because it's the same type of question. I want to show you one with options. Okay, this one. This is page number 61. So let's go to somewhere around 59. Okay. So this is for question number 27 to 30, our last passage. And this is question number 33 to 37, which means these are related. Our heading of the passage is Invasion of the Robot Umpires. Robot umpires. We can choose one option. This, if you don't know why it looks like this, it's because it's a copy of computer based test rather than our paper based. um, Ever since IELTS started, or ever since they actually had standard format of IELTS, our passages are only 2 pages long, not more than that. And if you have seen this, you can clearly see that we have multiple pages, and the format also looks a bit awkward, right? So it's because of that. It's a copy of computer based exam. Invasion of robot umpires. We have MLB ABS. MLB ABS. This is question number 33 to 37. Um, since it is in the first paragraph, I'm not quite sure if it is the right place. In any case, let's look at other things such as diseases. We have diseases. Okay, it's a bit odd, but so we can clearly see that um, in the first paragraph we should have answer for question number 33 to 37. By the way, it's going to be very difficult, so brace yourself. Uh, the complexity comes in twofold. As I said earlier, the grammar is completely changed, or the sentence is completely paraphrased. The meaning remains same, which means you have to understand both sides to correlate them. Or you can choose to highlight names such as what I'm doing, right? ABS, MLB diseases, to be sure that we are looking at the right area. And the other thing is, if you do not know what this thing means, what the options mean, then that's also another problem. So always focus on passage one if you are really weak for IELTS. That's my suggestion. For question number 33, even after ABS was developed, MLB still wanted human umpires to shout out decisions as they had in their blank. Wanted human umpires to shout out decisions. MLB still wanted human umpires to shout out decision. Wanted human umpires to shout out decisions as they had in their, just as they would have done in the past. Which of these options come close to this meaning in the past, or the past only? This boundary, numerous disputes, team tactics, subjective approval, formal rules, total silence, perceived area. As I said, past is the answer, but you cannot write that word in question number 33. You need to choose one of the options, one of the given options. So our answer is F, because former means past. Former roles means past. That is it. The umpire's job at one time required a blank whether a ball was a strike. So they are looking at whether a ball was a strike. Required. Okay. If we look at the next sentence, it says a ball is considered a strike even if the batter does not. And even if the batter does not hit a ball. No, 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 no. This is not it. The umpire's job had at one time required at one time meaning previously. Part of the umpire means umpire's job. So it was calling a strike, whether a ball was a strike. It required a judgment call. It required a judgment call. Our answer is judgment call. What do you think is the synonym of judgment call out of these options? Assessment means judgment. So we're going to go with option D. Okay, let's look at next sentence. A ball is considered a strike when the batter does not hit it and it crosses through a blank, extending approximately from the batter's knee to his chest. The batter's knee to his chest. The batter's knee to the middle of his chest. Extending means stretching, right? Extending means stretching. So this sentence will provide us answer for question number 35. It crosses through a that passes through the strike zone, an imaginary zone about 17 inches wide. I think the right answer is H. Perceived meaning something you thought. Zone could be area. So I think the right answer for this question is H. By the way, when you are doing this kind of question, uh, you cannot be 100% sure at the beginning. You have to fill in the gaps, then look at the remaining options and see if these are the best according to the grammar or the language, right? You should not be trying to be 100% accurate from the beginning. In the past, blank over strike calls were not uncommon, but today. So in this sentence, they are comparing past and present. Complete ban on punishing or subbing the umpire, right? So they are comparing past and present with bad treatment towards umpire. Today, for 150 years, they are talking about bad treatment towards umpire, right? disagreement in an umpire's face. So let's look at the actual question. In the past, blank over strike calls were not uncommon. So what was common over the strike calls? Arguments taken place over its boundaries or had crossed through it. So in the past, arguments over strike calls were not uncommon. So it says here countless arguments, meaning these were common arguments. Numerous disputes. Countless would be numerous, arguments would be disputes. So our next answer is option B. Let's look at the last question. One difference, however, is that during the first game, first robo umpire season, diseases used ABS strike calls were met with. Diseases used ABS strike calls were met with. Players complained about some strange calls. Strike calls were met with complaints. Players complained. Players complaints. Players complaints. We don't have anything that is comparable with complaints. Proposal disputes, numerous disputes, boundary, rules, silence. Met with, it could be total silence because no other option is going to make sense. We have already used B, we have used H, we have used F, we have used D. So a player were, I'm sorry, strike calls were met with pitch boundary, team tactics, widespread approval. It doesn't make sense. The grammar does not work. Met with widespread approval or met with total silence. Total silence is the only option that makes sense here. Okay, the argument stopped. However, is right here. I was looking at the wrong place. I'm really sorry about that. It's right next to the previous sentence. That's a no-no. It says right here, right? But one difference: when the robo umpire calls, or when the diseases use ABS strike calls, the argument stopped. So they met with total silence. I was correct, but obviously I was looking at wrong place, so I could not find the right answer. When the arguments stop, it is total silence. So this is how you do fill in the blanks. I'm really sorry that the recording is not that organized, because this is the first time I'm solving these passages, and that's how I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be natural, at the same time awkward. I wanted that class environment, the organic environment. I don't want to be premeditated. I don't want to do book 18, 19. I have done these things so many times in the class. So this is the first time I'm solving this. This is how I would do it. I don't know if these answers are correct or not. You can be judge yourself. Thank you for watching. And if you did not understand anything in this video, there are only two things to remember. Fill in the blanks, true, false, not given, and multiple choice question are sequential. They have really unique words. Use those words to find them in the passage, then only do the next thing. Do not try to find the answer. That should not be your first step, especially if you are a struggling student. Do not ever try to find the answer initially, right? Find the word, then the answer. Find the word, then the answer. For example, look at question number 37. If I had looked at however, one difference, I could have found this answer long ago. Instead, I was looking for the meaning of the sentence. If I could have just gone with however, my life would have been so easy. Okay, thank you for watching. I will come back sometime, I don't know, 6 or 7 months later on.